Hi everybody, so I thought I'll put this video together to talk about a current situation I'm experiencing when I'm buying a block of flats, which is just basically a lack of planning permission that's currently on the block of flats that I'm purchasing. So I guess I'll put the structure in of this video is to talk about the current situation, then I'll talk about the issues that this current situation is kind of producing really, the plans and of what I'm trying to do to get around this or to fix it really, and then I'll talk about some of the kind of some of the challenges that I'm facing as well. So in effect, I guess the current situation is, it's a block of flats that I've put an offer about December 2020 on, and that was agreed after a bit of negotiation. And we're now in February 2021, so 2 months in. We've done a lot of the searches, the plans, and one of the things that's been thrown up is there is an inadequate planning permission for this block. So the challenge that means then basically is that there are more flats in the block that there are planning approval for. So currently there are 3 flats in that block, and there are planning for only 2 of those 3 flats. And the challenge is lenders are not gonna want to take this on because the asset value is priced up on 3 flats. Currently, the planning is only on 2, so they will be unwilling to do that because should the council come back and either ask us of serving enforcement, which is unlikely, but there is a possibility that they could enforce a notice that that we convert this block of 3 back into block of 2, which means then the lenders will be exposing themselves to a reduced value of that block. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I spoke to the planning office regarding the history of this block, and as it turned out, it was a hotel before, back in the 1900s and 1950s, up to 1950s. Then it turned into a guest room, six kind of bed sit units. Then in the 80s also was a hotel, then became a block of flats. Now the challenge is the current block, the current owner has owned it for about 16 odd years and have not adequately sourced the planning, or at least applied back then the right planning. So they've converted that block into 3 with only a permission for 2. Now it's been going on for a while, so they've had it for 16 years. And from their perspective, they're saying, "Oh, we've had a license to let from the council that has extended for about 15 odd years." So there's, they don't feel that there's a need for that they've been doing anything wrong. Now the challenge is they don't understand that a licensing to let in those areas is different to having planning permission approved on the works that have been done, as well as is different to building regs that have been sourced whilst this work may have been taking place. So they are a bit hesitant about what I'm asking them to do, which is, to either provide us with proof of planning, which clearly they can't because the land registry and the searches from the solicitors, as well as me speaking to the local planning office, show that there isn't adequate planning for all 3 flats, so they're not going to be able to do that. The other thing is for them to also understand that licensing is different to planning. Licensing is also different, or planning is different to building regs. So one of the challenges also that I find quite a lot when I'm buying blocks of flats is, people who own them, sometimes they think they do know a lot more than what they actually do, which is a challenge in itself, because I'd rather buy a house from a naive seller that you can actually then work with via the estate agents and the solicitors to be able to educate them to do things. In this scenario, I'm facing a seller who clearly thinks they probably know a little bit more than what they probably do. In that sense, they've actually asked the estate agent to back out of, or back off, this sale and let the conveyancer, and also they're not using a solicitor, they're using a conveyancer, which also doesn't help because the conveyancer doesn't know as much as a solicitor. in my view. So we are faced with a seller who is unwilling to work with the estate agent to then help us progress the sale. Has chosen a conveyancer instead of solicitor, and we're having to now educate both the seller and the conveyancer about some of the processes that needs to take place. So as a recap, the issue is block of 3 flats. Currently with planning, there's only planning for approval for 2 out of those 3 flats. That then poses a risk for lenders. Traditional lenders, A, mostly don't want to lend on it, and B, if they do want to lend on it, they want some proof that the planning can or has been applied for or retrospectively applied for. We can go to bridges, but bridges will absolutely cost an arm and a leg for us to do this, because the rates are high, the arrangement fees are high, and I'm not in the habit of going to bridge for these things, because quite frankly, you could get stuck on those things for quite a while, and it erodes all the value that I've created out buying this block as a below market value unit. So because the challenge with that is, if you end up, which I doubt, but if you end up not getting the adequate planning or certificate of lawfulness that we're applying for at the moment, you could end up on a bridge. Then you are struggling to refinance away from that bridge to normal lenders who don't want to take on this risk, because now it's been proven that you only have planning permission for 2. So because of that, I'm hesitant to take bridging. So the plans are as follows. So what we've asked the seller to consider, and I've actually now forwarded the money to pay for this, is to apply, even before we exchange, to apply for a certificate of lawfulness. Having spoken to the council and also looking at the history of this block, being there for 20 odd years, we've got proof from a licensing perspective, but also building regs, and there was a fire in 2004 that the insurance paid out on. So we've got loads of proof to show that this has been going on. This block has at least certainly been there for at least 20 odd years in that shape, so 3 flats. So I'm confident that we should get a certificate of lawfulness if and when this is applied for. So the strategy that I've employed on this one is I'm willing to gamble really on £1,500. 1630 is the actual fee for a certificate of lawfulness, and I've paid that to my solicitor to pay to the seller for him to apply for this certificate of lawfulness. The risk is basically he could get it and then sell it to somebody else, or he could get it and decide not to sell. So and we have tried to put some clauses in to tie him in so that he can't actually do that, or if he does do that, he will have to refund us the money. So there's a bit of negotiation arriving there as well. So that's the plan. So I'll ask him to apply for this certificate of lawfulness. The challenge is it takes between 6 to 8 weeks, which is then also upsetting him, because he wants to now, he wants to sell, and it's been now 3 months and we're nowhere near completion. So yeah, and on the other side, I'm also trying to synchronize this certificate of lawfulness with my completion as well. So I'm aiming for him to apply for it kind of middle of February now, as where we're at, and plan that we might get it at the end of April. So that's 6 weeks away, and I'm trying to arrange all my works, my financing and everything else to try and synchronize with those 6 weeks period. So if I can get that right, then I don't end up having to buy it out either via bridge or cash, and I can go straight onto a normal lending product, because we will have a certificate of lawfulness. The normal lenders will be quite happy then to lend the whole block as one freehold containing 3 flats at that value. If I don't get that, the challenge will be then I'd have to probably end up having to buy it cash. And the reason I would consider buying it cash is because of what I've said. It's been around for 20 odd years. It's had all these licensing in place. It's been rented for that long. Now today we were told that there's building regs certification that the seller will be sending to us as well. So I'm very I would say, as much as I can be not owning something, I'm pretty confident from the history and the digging down, the due diligence I've done, that this block should be okay to get certificate of lawfulness. But my aim is not to use all of my, this is almost £400,000 worth of cash that we end up locking in for a few months by the time I do the title splitting and stuff. So if I can get the certificate of lawfulness, get the normal lending, get 75% of that value as a lending, buy it on an open product, not a fixed product. So that's another something, a little tip for you guys to know about. Don't try and buy these blocks as a fixed mortgage. Try and buy it with mortgages that will allow you to refinance away as soon as possible. So then you're not locked in once you come to do your title splits. So just as a recap, so we are applying for, I've paid for, and I'm asking for him to apply for this. Hopefully that will take 6 weeks, end of March, middle of April, we should be there or thereabouts with that certificate of lawfulness. And I'm trying to dovetail my 4 week of key undertaking to go and do some works, as well as my completion with those timelines down. So let's hope this works. And the plans are twofold, as I said. Certificate of lawfulness in place by the time we complete, we go to the normal route of mortgages. If we don't have it, we then go towards me buying it cash outright. And also there's another caveat to that as well. We've got the SDLT relief right now that is due to end of March, and that will save me around £12,000 of SDLT if I can complete within that timelines. Having said that, today we're on the 19th of February 2021. There are murmurs that the Chancellor is going to extend this relief on SDLT for another 6 weeks, so that will push it to middle of May. So that then will work beautifully if we go down this route of certificate of lawfulness in 6 weeks, refurb within 4 weeks with a key undertaking, as well as meeting the deadlines of SDLT and saving myself 10-12 grand extra otherwise on that SDLT. So let's hope it all goes well, but it just goes to show that, you know, I'm trying to do multiple things at the same time. So it's not the easiest of undertaking. So you really need to be very good at your project management. You really need to be aware of how long things take. For example, land registry at the moment are taking, they normally take about 88 days. They're quoting around 144 days to register a title. So if you are going to refinance away, you need to be able to show that you actually own the block. So in my case, in say in 2 or 3 months time, when I'm doing the title splitting, I need to be able to show that my company owns the block on land registry. So all of that needs careful planning, careful plotting, synchronization of your financing, your legals, your title split leases, working with the seller's own timelines to try and get this done. But to get it done, and if we get it done, there are great value to be had on it. So on average, each flat will revalue around 175,000. So we're looking at around 500 odd, 525 as a valuation singularly when I end up splitting the titles. So there will be new value added by the time I do the refurbs of around 100, 125 grand on those 3 blocks. So that will leave me with very little money down in that deal. And also, once I extract all my money out, I'll be leaving 3 flats that will be renting, that are already rented at the moment, 2 of them, and producing passive income. So that will be good news when I can recycle 100% of my funds out of those. So in a nutshell, I guess, it just goes to show that, title splitting as a strategy is a very lucrative strategy, as I've shown you, as I've discussed around the financing. But there are multiple layers of understanding, as this case is actually shown as well, and the due diligence that's needed to make sure that you do get this right. If we did not work, if you had missed out some of these things, we would be struggling to finance it, we'll be struggling to refinance it and title splitting it. In my case, I don't sell, but if people were splitting it to sell, you would also struggle then to sell some of these units because you didn't have the right certification to do that. So I'll leave it there. My name is Azid. I've been investing for the last 20 years in properties. I own multiple units, from single buy-to-let, HMOs, commercial conversions, service accommodation, and title splitting, buying blocks of freehold flats that I then look at disaggregating, creating leases, creating new value to it, so I can extract all of my money out and then leave these singular units as rental properties with basically infinite return, because none of my money is tied into these projects. I do that quite a bit. I've been doing it for certainly title splitting for the last 7 years now. I've written a book called Grow Your Wealth Through Title Splitting. Have a look at that on Amazon if that's something that you are wanting to engage in. Otherwise, have it read up my other book called Scale Your Wealth Through Properties. And that talks about mindset, what you need to look for, how do you finance, how do you source, the key trends in property in the UK, and really why do I buy never to sell. So take a look at those on Amazon. If you also need help on a one-to-one, in 2021, I'm now working with people on a one-to-one, because in my view, a lot of people come to me now having attended those 200, 300, 1,000 person course that they've paid 10, 15, 20 grand on, but a lot of them are struggling to take the actual action of buying properties. So as a one-to-one, I've been coaching people now to take that next leap and take knowledge, but execute and get it into execution. So they have now started to buy their HMOs, their blocks of flats. So if you're interested in one-to-one coaching, have a look at my social media feeds, and you will see the link appear at the end. And contact me either via Facebook, Instagram, my website, and let's have a chat about what you personally need, and then let's help you get to where you want to be. So thanks for listening and watching, and I'll see you at the next video.